I think we've forgotten how good we have it right now.
You're absolutely right.
Am I free tomorrow at noon? Would you like to?
I just am amazed.
I'd love to follow you up on that.
We've forgotten. The good old days weren't
Let's
so good.
open.
Okay, I'll be in the food, but my entertainment. I go over to the side shows every day, every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
I have another meeting.
So dependent on you.
Fine day, bud.
Still doing well over there?
Because you
Yes.
seem to
Little bit
finish
behind.
a whole lot
But
more.
not changing quite a bit.
Than I actually did.
I watch a lot of.
So if I can be there 5 after,
No,
I
I'm
can actually
talking
be
about.
there. Okay.
I'll
Perfect.
look for you.
Wonderful.
Getting close here.
It was so bizarre.
I kept thinking of telemarketers. You know how when they call, oh, sorry.
Scott?
You good?
All right. Call the meeting to order. Unfortunately, we don't have a quorum. Mr. Waters is out with some health issues, and Mr. Christie is out of town on an educational opportunity with his company. So we won't have any votes or anything, but let's move on to the update. Board projections.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. We have one item on the agenda for discussion today, and that's our third quarter projections. As you know, the board's operating policy calls for quarterly updates of our general fund revenues and expenditures to be provided to the board. In your packet, you have a projection of fiscal year 24 general fund expenditures through the third quarter. Currently, we estimate that we will be at $93.6 million of revenue, which is about $4.5 million higher than the amended budget that was approved. The increase in this is primarily due to two factors. One is higher than expected personal property tax collections and the interest earnings on bank deposits. As you know, we always budget conservatively with a decrease in the tax rate. We felt it prudent to factor that into, but an increase of new vehicles coming into the county offset the decrease in the rate on the current vehicles. And the same thing with interest earnings. We felt it prudent to estimate a decrease in interest rates that had not yet occurred. Operating expenditures forecast to be about $78.8 million, which is about $1.7 million below budget. Overall, therefore, operating revenues will exceed operating expenditures by about $14.8 million. Of that, a significant amount of that is transferred over to CIP, as you know, so that's not it's an operating surplus, but it is allocated for already. So we would expect the fund balance will grow by about $2.6 million in July when the budget is closed out. I would make the point that that is a fairly significant decrease from the transfer we did last year, which is closer to $9 million. So we are seeing a decrease in the available revenues we have to us for our CIP projects coming up. And any questions?
No?
If not, then we can move to the public comments.
Yeah. I mean, let's open up the session for public comment. Any comments from the public?
Well, since I'm not a committee member, but I did have questions. So
That's
I just ask, I guess.
Perfect.
This is so
He's the
unusual.
public too.
I am part of the public. Do we have a means of projecting this decrease in transfer to the CIP? Because I share the same concern that we're still in the golden era of Richland County's part of the Commonwealth, but I'm not seeing any decrease in CIP. I mean, we got the 25-year CIP, and it's what, $638 million over the next 25 years. It's significant. And I unabashedly don't want to be the guy that says, I move to increase the tax rate from to. And so are there things that, how far out can we forecast to where we get to the point where, until we get those data centers in West Creek and the additional revenues?
What we have done is, for the 25-year CIP, when we updated it most recently, we put in a 5-year funded CIP, and that funded CIP is based on revenues that we feel comfortable, which is looking at where our growth in revenues, growth in expenses, and what that leaves us in available surplus, if you want to use that term, that could be allocated for CIP. And then we adjusted the CIP to reflect the money we thought would have available, which results in us taking items off of CIP or delaying items on the CIP several years. So we are keeping it because that was one of the outcomes that staff and board members were concerned about, is we have an unfunded CIP, and if we're on a rainbow path of things are going to be wonderful, so we wanted to really look at it. So one of the things that we've developed, great thanks to Ms. Cave and Kat and everyone, is a model, a forecasting model that we're able to really look at and tweak the impact to our budget by pay raises, by expenses in variety of anything. I mean, the whole model is there, tax rates, property assessments going up, going down. So it really gives us an ability to kind of push those levers. So we're able to look at it and anticipate 3 years in the future, what is that going to do to us? And that gives us a level of comfort. Now, obviously, my comfort goes down year to year. So I'm most comfortable for the next year. And then the second year, I'm comfortable, but it gets, and so on.
Okay, so 5 years, we're still pretty comfortable.
We feel comfortable at this point, yes, sir.
And again, I haven't gone through, as we all have, the budget here. I know that public safety and schools continue to be justified, or at least a fully explained reason for increases on the expense side. And I'm optimistic that we can grow the tax base on the commercial side.
Yes, sir.
I just don't know how we might factor that in. That's a discussion for another time. But I fully expect that we're going to continue to see increased requests on public safety. My rule of thumb, it's $100,000 per new employee in fire and rescue in the sheriff's office. And at some point, it's going to be, we don't have anything to transfer to CIP, and then how do we take care of HVAC, roofs, parking lots?
Absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
We had that discussion last year as well, and that was honestly part of the discussion with lowering the tax rate, was the impact it would have on us as we had anticipated. And we affected that in the model, and again, we see a decrease in revenue, even though we did not, even though we brought in more than we budgeted, it was still significantly less than we had brought in the year before. So there's
So the revenue was lower.
revenue came in higher than budgeted, but it was lower than the previous year as far as growth.
Yes.
Any questions?
I mean, we're making sausage.
Well, the model's fun. I'd be glad to sit down with you and play with that model. You know, it's a neat document. It's not a big spreadsheet, but it's a neat item to look and see. So
I accept.
I thought you would.
Any other comments from the public? Yes, ma'am.
One, I would like to try to understand how the money that is paid out to the CIP actually works, as far as getting it in the area in which it was designated. As far as, there's a whole lot of CIP funding that's for projects that are in District 4. And I'm trying to wrap my little head around where the CIP money gets actually applied to District 4, and that's what a lot of my neighbors are asking, as you probably know.
You know what, and I can give you a very quick answer, but I would also be glad to sit down with you and to spread the whole CIP out and kind of go over in great detail each project, where the money comes from, and how it gets allocated to that. The short answer, though, is that the CIP that we operate off of is one that has been built over a number of years of projects, some of which are funded by, for example, the bond referendum.
Right.
That's in the CIP, and the voters approved that. We've just started adding the external projects that are not really funded by the county, like the transportation projects. They haven't been included in our CIP, but we're putting them there now in order, in part, to show that the effort is being made in certain areas, even if it's not necessarily what you may see in a District 1. You see something different in District 4. But the mechanism for creating the CIP goes back to the board members and their discussions, and every year we update that. And so District 4 and District 5 are two districts that have made it clear, at least since I've been here, that there is desire to see the county be more visible and more engaged with resources in that part of the county. So I would expect to see that you'll start hearing conversations coming about the CIP and the eastern part of the county, what's appropriate.
Right now, I think there's a communication, a disconnect between the knowledge that the citizens have about even what a CIP is.
Right.
I'm working very diligently to try to bridge that knowledge gap.
Staff would love to sit down on that issue and do that. And I do want to point out, since it's not a formal official meeting, that's normally I would just say talk to me after the meeting. But because we're not formally meeting, that's why I'm getting into great detail with you. I'd love to sit down though with you and anyone else.
Well,
on CIP.
we have a new established group, and we are meeting on Friday with Josh here to try to kind of keep the drama that gets out there when people don't understand the zoning, zoning ordinances, or they don't understand the process where somebody comes in and really raises havoc on our community.
We'll be glad to do that. And are there any other comments on the finance part?
Well, the finance part
Yes.
leads into it because people want to know how their money is being spent.
Oh, yeah.
They're seeing their taxes go up, even though the rate doesn't go up. Their value on their property is going up, and they're very engaged in my community, which happens to be in District 4. So
And I'm wide open. Staff would be very happy to do that.
I'm just trying to
Thank you.
bring it to you.
Thank you.
Now Sandy's got
This
one.
triggered a real simple thing. A number of meetings before you discussed perhaps putting something on tax bills with a penny of taxes and what portion of that penny went to whatever. I wonder if that ever went any further.
Well, it would be in the next round, once now that the budget is done, so it wouldn't be till the December
Okay.
bills go out.
Okay.
And then it's still up to the treasurer ultimately, she has to
Yeah, 'cause
agree to it all.
Gotcha.
But
Thank you.
I think it's a great idea.
Thank you
No, I
all.
do too.
Any further comments? I'll close the public comment.
3 o'clock to get next door, right?
Now, since we don't have a forum or anything further, did you want to add anything? Anybody else? All right, nothing for good of the cause. Declare the meeting adjourned
Till August 6th.
till August 6th.
August 6th. Woo.
Wasn't it just Christmas?
Thank you all for coming.
No, August 6th.